College football's regular season is ending with a bang, and this Week 14 JP poll might be the most dramatic shakeup yet. The top 20 power ratings have shifted in ways that will thrill some fan bases and absolutely infuriate others, and this is where the debates really start. Week 14 marks the final weekend of the regular season, and rivalry showdowns dominate the schedule, adding even more chaos to an already volatile landscape. The JP poll, which focuses on power ratings rather than traditional win-loss rankings, saw some notable movement coming out of Week 13, even though the very top held steady. That difference alone, power rating versus ranking, is something many fans still disagree on, and it's a big reason why these lists stir up so much controversy. Week 14 setup. The teams at the top of the JP poll stayed locked in place because the highest-rated programs all handled business in their most recent games. That stability at the top, though, hides how much is at stake this week as heated rivalries and conference races collide. With the regular season wrapping up, every snap now carries college football playoff and conference championship implications. With all that in mind, the Week 14 JP poll top 20 is set, freshly unveiled on Josh Pate's college football show. From Ohio State anchoring the poll at number 1 to Michigan sneaking back into the top 20, this list sets the stage for a wild, emotionally charged rivalry weekend. But here's where it gets controversial. Some teams moved without even playing, while others dominated and still slipped. 1. Ohio State. Ohio State holds firm at number 1 in the JP poll and remains unbeaten after a comfortable win over Rutgers, once again showing why the Buckeyes sit atop the power ratings. Even with key offensive playmakers Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith sidelined, the Buckeyes controlled the game with little drama, underscoring their depth and overall roster strength. All eyes now turn to Ann Arbor, where Ohio State travels to face Michigan in one of the sport's most intense rivalries. The game kicks off Saturday afternoon at the Big House, with the Buckeyes aiming to lock up a spot in the Big Ten championship and strengthen their path toward the college football playoff. And this is the part most people miss. For Ohio State, style points here may matter almost as much as simply getting the win. 2. Georgia. Georgia stays planted at number 2, using last week's non-conference matchup against Charlotte as a tune-up instead of another SEC grind. The Bulldogs handled Charlotte with ease at Sanford Stadium, turning the game into a springboard toward a much bigger spotlight in Week 14. Next up is a trip to Atlanta for the annual clean, old-fashioned hate showdown against rival Georgia Tech. Georgia sits in prime position for a college football playoff by according to the latest top 25 outlook, and a win over the Yellow Jackets keeps that track intact. Some fans will argue the Bulldogs haven't been tested enough lately, but does dominating lesser opponents actually hurt their perceived strength, or just prove how far ahead they are? 3. Texas A&M, +1. Texas A&M climbs one spot into number 3 heading into Week 14 and stands as the last remaining undefeated SEC program. The Aggies took care of their non-conference business against Samford, using that game to stay sharp before a massive jump in competition on a short week. The stakes skyrocket on Black Friday with the Lone Star Showdown as Texas A&M heads to Austin to face Texas. For the Longhorns, it's a chance to swing back into the college football playoff conversation. For the Aggies, it's an opportunity to secure a bye in the new 12-team playoff format. The controversial twist, some will insist Texas A&M's resume isn't as strong as the ranking suggests, especially compared to other one-loss teams. 4. Indiana, -1. Indiana slides down one spot to number 4 in the JP poll despite not playing in Week 13, a reminder that power ratings can move based on other teams' performances and updated evaluations. The Hoosiers are still positioned for an undefeated regular season if they can finish the job this weekend. On Saturday, Indiana faces Purdue in a rivalry matchup that carries both bragging rights and big-time stakes. A win would not only complete a perfect regular season, but also punch IU's ticket to the Big Ten championship and keep them on track for a college football playoff bye. And here's a spicy question. Should a team drop in a power poll while on a bye if it hasn't done anything wrong on the field? 5. Alabama. Alabama remains at number 5 after a comfortable home victory over Eastern Illinois, using that game to fine-tune before one of the most emotional rivalries in the sport. The Crimson Tide once again looked dominant, turning the matchup into more of a statement than a struggle. Now comes the Iron Bowl at Jordan-Hare Stadium, where Alabama will square off with Auburn. The Tide are aiming to secure a CFP spot, while head coach Kalen DeBoer chases a second win over the Tigers, and Auburn fights to become bowl-eligible with an upset. Is Alabama slightly underrated at number 5 given its ceiling, or does its placement fairly reflect the total body of work? 6. Oregon, +1. Oregon moves up to number 6 after a strong performance in last week's win against USC, reinforcing the Ducks' reputation as one of the most explosive teams in the country. That victory not only boosted their position in the JP poll, but also gave them extra momentum heading into their regular season finale. This week, Oregon travels to Seattle to face Washington at Husky Stadium in another high-energy rivalry clash. A win would significantly strengthen the Ducks' case for a college football playoff berth and, with some outside help, could open the door to a spot in the Big Ten championship. The controversial angle: are advanced metrics overvaluing Oregon's offensive firepower compared to more balanced teams? 7. Notre Dame, -1. Notre Dame actually drops one spot to number 7 in the Week 14 JP poll despite a historic blowout win over Syracuse. The Fighting Irish have hovered around this range all season, and even a 70-7 demolition wasn't enough to trigger a move upward. Notre Dame jumped out to a 21-0 edge before the offense even stepped on the field, turning the game into a rout almost instantly. The regular season finale against Stanford offers another rivalry test and a chance to stay on trajectory for a potential playoff berth. But here's where it gets controversial. How does a team fall in a power rating after one of the most lopsided wins of the year? 8. Ole Miss. Ole Miss holds steady at number 8 after taking a Week 13 bye to rest and reset before the Egg Bowl. The Rebels' position reflects the committee's confidence in their overall performance and underlying strength, even without a fresh result last week. Now they face Mississippi State in a rivalry matchup with major narrative heft. A third straight win over the Bulldogs would strengthen Ole Miss' profile as a legitimate playoff contender. After that, the conversation will inevitably turn to Lane Kiffin's future yet again. Will success keep him in Oxford, or make him an even bigger target for other programs? 9. Texas Tech, +1. Texas Tech moves up to number 9 in the JP poll despite also having a bye in Week 13, showing how these ratings react to shifting perceptions and other teams' results. Joey Maguire's squad has quietly positioned itself as a serious threat heading into the final weekend. The Red Raiders travel to Morgantown on Saturday to face West Virginia in a game that carries Big 12 championship stakes. A win would send Texas Tech into the conference title game with a chance to claim the league's automatic college football playoff bid as one of the 4 highest-ranked conference champions. And this is the part most people miss. Texas Tech could become one of the most polarizing playoff qualifiers if they get in over more brand-name programs. 10. Texas, +1. Texas climbs into the top 10 at number 10 after an impressive offensive showcase against Arkansas. Arch Manning and the Longhorns lit up the scoreboard in a high-scoring game that pushed their record to 9-2 and reasserted the power of their offense. This week, Manning gets his first experience in the renewed Lone Star Showdown as Texas A&M comes to DKR, Texas Memorial Stadium. The matchup is loaded with storylines, playoff implications, bragging rights, and the chance to reshape both programs' trajectories heading into the new era of the 12-team CFP. Some will argue Texas deserves to be ahead of a few teams ranked above them. Do you agree? Or is this ranking just about right? Week 14 JP poll, 11-20. Here's how the rest of the top 20 shakes out going into rivalry weekend. Utah, -2. Oklahoma, +2. Miami. Tennessee, -2. USC. BYU, +1. Vanderbilt, +1. Penn State, +1. Iowa, -3. Michigan, NR. This stretch of the poll features teams trending in all different directions. Utah and Tennessee slide down, suggesting concerns about recent performances or underlying metrics, while Oklahoma, BYU, Vanderbilt, and Penn State inch upward. Michigan returns to the top 20 as a new entry, which is sure to spark debates about whether the Wolverines should have been ranked higher, lower, or left out entirely based on their season. Final regular season stakes. Week 14 is shaping up to deliver a high-drama conclusion to the college football regular season. Rivalry games dominate the slate.